to pay for fruits. I won't be here tomorrow, so I need to take care of it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Erev Tov. There was a genre of commentary to Torah called Drush. It's not Drash, it's Drush. And it was very popular for centuries amongst Rabbonim. It was a time that the Rabbonim did not speak publicly often, and there were Magidim, preachers who traveled from community to community, and they were the ones that spoke, and usually it was an event, and there was a time when the Jewish people had patience to hear speeches. So the Magidim usually spoke at least an hour and a half or 2 hours. And that was the entertainment for the year. So there were Sifrei Drush. Rabbi Yaakov Krantz, the Dubner Magid, was one of the famous Darshonim. And he used parables, Misholim, as a means of communicating his ideas to the people. So he would tell a story, and that story illustrated the point that he was trying to make. His famous commentary was when they asked him, how is he able to find stories that fit the psukim? So he said the example, the parable is that an archer is shooting arrows at a target. So he shoots 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows, then he goes and he paints the target as to where the arrow was. So he said that's what he does as well. In any event, one of the famous Darshonim in Central Europe in the 19th century was the Ksav Sofer, who was the son of the Chatam Sofer, and he was his father's successor as the Rav in Preshburg. He was a famous Gaon, but he was a noted Darshan. Now, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, unlike in the Russian Empire, the rabbis, especially the rabbis who were official rabbis recognized by the government, were required to speak. And many times they even spoke in German. The Chatam Sofer himself spoke in German. And the Ktav Sofer wrote a sefer of his drushas. It's called the Ktav Sofer ala Torah. Very interesting, original book, but in our time, we have a hard time relating because the styles today are far different. People speak machshava, a general outline. People speak spiritual things, etc. So the drush is, so to speak, fallen out of favor, at least in our circles today. So he has a famous piece of drush, the Ksav Sofer, on this week's Parsha, which again, like the Dubner Magid, is illustrative. If you want to understand drush, this is a classic way of understanding it, that the target is painted afterwards. It says in the Pasuk by Matan Torah, The Rabbanu Shalom said, Kaviyachol, v'yisem li zgula mikol ha'amim kili kol ha'aretz. You will be unto me zgula. It's a difficult word to translate, but it's like a treasure, a talisman, something of enormous value out of all of the nations of the world. Then it says in the Pasuk, V'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. And you will be to me a mamleches kohanim, a kingdom of priests, and a goy kadosh, and a holy nation. Then it says, the next Pasuk, Eile hadvorim asher tedaber al bnei Yisrael. This is what you should tell the Jewish people, speaking to Moshe, this is what you should relate to them. Rashi, their comments, Eile hadvorim lo pachot velo yoter. Don't say more, don't say less, exactly what I said it now. So he asks three questions. All Drush is based on questions. The first question is, it says, "V'yisem li zgula mikol ha'amim kili kol ha'aretz." And then it says, "V'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh." The pasuk should have combined it in one sentence. V'yisem li zgula mikol ha'amim mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. Why does the pasuk, so to speak, interrupt to say, Kili kol ha'aretz? Everything belongs to me. And then why does it start again? V'atem, and you should be. Why did it say first, v'yisem, you will be, and then v'atem tiyuli, you will make it that you are. And then he asks the question, what does the Torah mean? Rashi states it here, lo pachot v'lo yoter, not less and not more. We have no ability to add to the Torah, and we have no ability to detract from the Torah. Lo sosifu v'lo sigra'u. So all of a sudden Rashi says, lo pachot v'lo yoser. The rest of the time it doesn't apply. So those are the three questions that he poses. And he has a very, very brilliant insight. Now, the insights of Drush may or may not be the pshat. Usually they are not. They're not meant as the pshat. They're meant to give you a different aspect as to what the pasuk is saying. Because the Torah is so rich, it has so many aspects to it, that a simple literal translation never gets it across. That's why Chazal declared a fast day when they translated the Torah into Greek. Because the translation is not going to carry it. And we see that over and over and over again. It's hard to make Drush out of a translation. So the Ksav Sofer says as follows. I have a special attachment of the Ksav Sofer because my sefer of the drushes, the Ksav Sofer, is the only book of my grandfather that I have in my library. And so my grandfather was from the old time Rabbonim that had to deliver drush. So the Ksav Sofer says as follows: V'yisem li zgula mikol ha'amim. This is not up to the Jewish people. You're going to be the zgula mikol ha'amim. You're going to be special. You're going to be chosen. You'll have a different history, a different destiny. It has nothing to do with you. Kili kol ha'aretz. The world belongs to me. I can do with it what I want. So I chose that you should be Zgula Mikol Ha'amim. So that's why it says V'yisem Zgula Mikol Ha'amim, and that's why immediately it says Kili Kol Haaretz. The whole world belongs to me. So you have no choice in this matter. But v'atem, if you want to do something, then tiyuli mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh, you can make Yisgula Mikol Ha'amim into a mamleches kohanim and a goy kadosh. You can transform that. That it'll be obvious why I chose you, because you will be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. You'll follow my mitzvos. You'll subscribe to my ideas. And therefore Rashi says, Lo pachot velo yoter. We can never be pachot less than Zgula Mikol Ha'amim, no matter what the Jewish people do. No matter, God forbid, how low we sink. We are still Zgula Mikol Ha'amim, because that's not up to us. But for Lo Yoter, we can never ascribe to any greatness more than being a Mamlechet Kohanim and a Goy Kadosh. There's no greatness possible that will outweigh the opportunity to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And therefore, that's what Moshe told them. This is what you tell the Jewish people at Har Sinai, by Kabbalah Satorah. These are the bookends. On one end, you're going to be Zgula Mikol Ha'amim, has nothing to do with you. On the other hand, you can be Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. Now, Zgula Mikol Ha'amim carries with it negative events as well. We have a special history of negative events that keeps on haunting us. Today's news that they discovered that the one who informed on Anne Frank and her family was in fact a Jew. And so then all day long it riles up again all of these terrible things. That's Zgula Mikol Ha'amim. Well, even there's no escaping it. It's 85 years ago. Let it rest already. Zgula Mikol Ha'amim is a constant. But there's also the other side of Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. And that's a daily striving. It's a daily challenge in every facet of our behavior. And that's what we drive for. So therefore, Eila Advarim Asher Tadaber B'nai Yisrael. These are the words that you should tell the Jewish people. So even though, my friends, that may not be the pshat in the pasuk, but it certainly is an understanding of what Moshe outlined to the Jewish people, the parameters of Jewish life. And those are things that are valuable and cogent even today in all circumstances, that we should realize that Eretz Israel and the state of Israel is also, it's Zgula Mikol Ha'amim. Look what goes on with us. But we can also be Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh, and that's Eila Advarim Asher Tadaber B'nai Yisrael. Rabbi Chania ben Akashia Omer Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael V'Ficha Chir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chafetz Aman Tzidko Yagil Torah V'Yadir.
Amen.